Hello, this is Luis Portillo for CS 232. This is exam 2, display a cube. First we started off by defining the cube and including the string library and the namespace std. We created two class sets, a private class which only we can see, and the public class which had all of our functions here. We then created the source.cpp, which is pretty much the skeleton of the entire program. We included the IO stream and included the cube.header file that we created previously. We created int main and an integer here called user num. This would take the number that the user inputs. So then we created a cout statement that says enter a side value. Here the user would input a number. We would take that number and plug it into user num. And this is what we would use to draw the cube. Then we created our cube.cpp file, and again we included the header that we created previously and the IO stream and namespace std. Then we started by creating some declarations here, which we created spaces before, spaces between, and spaces on the right face. While we were doing our analyzing before we started the program, we realized that we needed to deduct 1 from the side for the spaces before and 2 for the spaces between to create the cube. As well as up here, which I accidentally skipped, we created an if statement that would pretty much only allow the user to input a number 5 or bigger, and if they inputted anything smaller, it would automatically draw a cube that was 5 by 5. Then we started to actually draw the cube. We started by drawing the spaces before and the stars. And here we would take the side, which is what the user would input. Then we began to draw the slanted rows. We drew some spaces, the stars, the spaces between, more stars, and the spaces on the right face. And then we ended that with the cout and else statement. Then the middle of the cube was just more stars and spaces, which would come from the side value. And then we created a for statement here that would pretty much add more stars or spaces, actually just spaces, either in between or on the right face to create that slanted look on the right side of the cube. And then at the end here, we just drew the stars using the number that the user inputted and the spaces with that same number there. And then down here we had our base statements, which were our void functions. So now when we run the program here, we'll get a cout statement that says enter a side value, and if we punch in 5 and enter, it draws that 5 by 5 cube.